What image comes to your mind the moment I say the word bacteria?
Bacteria. I remember that they are these organisms 100 times smaller than a grain of rice. I remember them as the creatures to create yogurt.
Yogurt. Wonderful. What image comes to your mind the moment I say the word mining?
Something to drill with. Gold, copper.
And what image comes to your mind when I say old phones that no longer work?
An e-waste dustbin.
An e-waste dustbin. Wonderful. So, if we had to connect these three things, what do you think today's episode is about?
Bacteria mining in e-waste. Okay, so I think it's how bacteria can get minerals or elements from old phones that are no longer used.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Agastya. I think you've set the tone and you've explained it beautifully. To introduce ourselves to any new listeners. Hi there, you're listening to What's New Today, a kids and family podcast. This is Sangeeta, your host from India, and I'm joined by a curious child in every episode to discuss one very interesting news story. And like Agastya has already explained what today's episode is about, let me ask Agastya to introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Agastya and my age is 10 years. I live in Maharashtra, Mumbai.
Welcome to this show, Agastya.
Can you tell me what you know about what we can find in old phones and laptops, and why are we trying to use bacteria to mine some of these minerals from them?
Okay, so basically in the phones, like any gadget, there are these group of 17 elements. They are known as REEs, rare earth elements. And now the demand of these gadgets are increasing.
Have you asked your parents too for new devices recently?
No,
No. So you're not one of those that wants the new devices.
I don't play video games or anything, so
You think that's the only reason why most kids want a device?
mostly, but there's no need anyway. I have enough.
I'm sure most kids today have enough. All right, now tell me more.
And so since the demand is increasing, scientists are estimating by 2030, these rare earth elements will be needed a lot more than it is now. And so they are found deep inside Earth's crust. And for that, you really have to mine. You need to put in chemicals, People don't realize is that they are actually causing severe damage to the earth by releasing all those chemicals or digging and whatever they are doing. It also is a long process and you'll need heavy equipment.
So, because we may not find enough of these REs, we want to take the old phones and reuse the same REs and extract these rare earth minerals from them and reuse them when we are manufacturing a new iPad or a new phone, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How will bacteria help us?
Now, a group of people, so they trapped a species of bacteria called E. coli. If any one of you have heard it, they can cause a lot of damage. They are antibiotic resistant. So they were trapped in tiny hydrogel beads, and there was, electronic waste, which then they absorbed that electronic waste. They were bioengineered to do that. They absorbed it, and then they actually extracted those REEs.
Wow!
They're saying there were some scientists who took some of this bacteria and fed it some kind of old phone waste. And the bacteria was able to extract just the precious copper and the precious gold from it. And then it was able to give it to the scientists, who will now take it and give it to the companies that make the phones and make the iPads.
I never knew that bacteria could actually eat electronic waste.
No, I don't think they actually consume the electronic waste.
Yeah, they don't, but I was really surprised.
I don't think the E. coli really consumes it like literally through its mouth. I think what happens is the E. coli breaks down the e-waste. When it breaks it, what it does is it breaks the bonds between, say, copper and sulfur. And it is able to take the copper alone out. By breaking that bond, the bacteria get energy. And that's what makes them multiply. So that way, when the scientists go, they're able to take the copper alone out separately, or they're able to take the gold alone out separately. So here's a fun fact. There is more than one way of extracting all these rare earth minerals from e-waste. Using bacteria is just one way. There are other traditional methods where there are big factories where if you go and throw all of these old phones, which are powdered, and then there are some chemical processes that happen inside laboratories of big factories that will take that'll take out that gold or copper. But when we do all of those things, there's a lot of toxic gases that might get released.
So toxic gas is getting released. It's such a long process. But having bacteria doesn't take much time. I think that is why they have this method is now soon going to be very common.
So now will you think a little more favorably about bacteria than you would have before?
Way more.
Do you think it's a good idea to have a lot of bacteria in this world?
Ma'am, I think you shall have a good amount. And you can't have too much. It may wipe out humanity and animals. You should have a balance. Many people have always thought of bacteria as something that will always cause diseases. But they actually have made yogurt.
Wow.
Most of them are present in your gut, and they help you break down these foods. They help you digest the food. This is one very important message, because if you are thinking of having a world without bacteria, there will be no life.
That's such a brilliant statement you made. I once heard somewhere that if you wipe out all insects from this world, all forms of life will come to a complete end in 50 years.
Oh yes, ma'am. Especially if you wipe out bees.
You are spot on, 100% correct.
How do we conclude, or how do we wrap up today's episode? And what do you think of this new technology?
This technology is a really great idea. And I just want all of you who are listening to remember that a bacteria causing disease is like, a lion eating a deer, a shark eating a fish. But that's just the ecosystem. That's just how nature works. I also want to end this episode with a joke. I have a big amount of jokes.
You have a lot more jokes?
I have a huge amount.
I'm all ears.
They may not be related to this topic though.
That's fine.
I've made 62.
You made 62 jokes by yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like to tell me two of your favorites? And I'm going to try and guess them.
Okay. What happened when the clean toilet saw the dirty toilet?
Saw the dirty toilet?
Yeah, what happened? Shall I tell you?
Maybe let me give it a shot. Clean toilet met the dirty toilet. You need a whitewash? You need a clean wash?
No, ma'am. The thing that happened was that the dirty toilet got flushed with embarrassment.
Got flushed with embarrassment. Lovely joke. Yeah, one more.
So what happened when a virus uploaded his video on Instagram?
It went viral.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so glad I finally got one joke from your generation right. Shall we end the episode with our traditional quiz?
It's quiz time. Let's see how well you listen.
Question 1. Can you name any two elements that old phones and laptops contain?
Neodymium and terbium oxide.
Wow, I would have settled for gold and silver, but they are absolutely right. All right, question 2. Can you name any one food item that bacteria helps make? It's something that we all eat regularly in our kitchens.
Bread.
And the last and the final question. What would happen to the world if there was no bacteria?
No creature will ever survive.
No creature.
And the whole humanity will be wiped out.
That was a brilliant note on which we can end this episode. Agastya, I know you've been listening to podcasts on this channel. So before we wrap up, we usually leave our listeners with one other episode recommendation for them to listen to. And what is the one episode that you have really enjoyed, from whatever you've heard so far, that you'd like to recommend to other kids your age?
I think so. It's episode number 27. It's about the floating city of Busan. So Busan is a city in South Korea. It's about how they are planning to make a floating city, how it will look like.
Oh, wow, you love that episode where they've reimagined life if all the glaciers melt and water levels rise. So this place in South Korea, they're going to be creating a floating island. Awesome. Thank you so much for that recommendation. For all of our listeners who'd like to listen to this episode about the floating city of Busan, you can find link to that in the show notes right below. Thank you so much, Agastya. You've been a brilliant and a wonderful co-host.
I really love chatting on this show.
Thank you so much.
That brings us to the end of this episode. I am still amazed that bacteria can potentially help us make new phones and iPads. Who would have thought that? Did you love listening to this banter between Agastya and I? Well, if you did, this podcast channel might just be a wonderful way for you and your family to catch up on some really, really interesting news stories in a fun-filled manner. New episodes drop every Monday and Friday. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate and review us wherever you're listening to this. And please do share us with your friends, family and widely on social media so you can help us grow our audience. And
thanks for listening.